welcome to Moving Forward, where we discuss community affairs and meet local people with intriguing stories. I'm your host, Ellen Copy, and today we are looking into the arts here on campus. Later this episode, we will be speaking with jazz pianist Joe Augustine about his most recent CD release. But first, we have Assistant Professor and Curator Markus Vogl here to tell us about an exhibit here at the University of Akron titled Idiosyncrasy. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Ellen. Thanks for having us.
How did you have the idea to start an art exhibit?
Well, so part of our graphic design curriculum has, and for our seniors especially, has an advanced graphic design class that allows us to change up our curriculum a little bit. And what we do is essentially form in that class a show from the very beginning to the very end. So we don't necessarily give them any direction per se, we just let them find a theme, a name for the show, let them make the collateral and also the work.
With this curriculum that they needed to follow, how was the idiosyncratic behaviors chose as the theme?
Well, so it starts with a big idea cloud, and one of the things that sort of started to develop early was the theme of obsession. And once we chose obsession as the theme for the entire show, and obsession, as you know, can have positive as well as other connotations, once we chose that theme, we actually had to put a name towards that theme. And idiosyncratic seemed to be a great choice.
And so after they chose this theme, with the idiosyncrasy, the word and the obsession is all, how do you define it?
So, well, if you want to say enthusiasm, if you want to say persistence, could be a wonderful thing. But we deal with our tools, especially within the design and the art world, we deal with a lot of idiosyncratic tools. So not only are we idiosyncratic, our tools are idiosyncratic as well. And so we wanted to hone in onto this particular intersection between where we as humans are almost become obsessed, but really we're still quite enthusiastic about the process.
So we have these behaviors. What are the tools then?
Well, the tools in this case could be anything. We actually do not restrict media, but we have in the show we have websites that are game-playing websites towards the theme obsession. We have video pieces, we have hand-cast pieces, we have fashion, scarves as well as clothes, and then we even have painted nails. So it could be truly any medium.
All of these different mediums that are coming together, how did they really come into a show?
Well, it's interesting how that actually gels together, because in the beginning, you work on the theme, the name, you don't know, you have no idea how it turns out. And so over time, you sort of try to guide the students towards making a unified show. And I must say, the two I've done so far, I've been just extremely lucky that they gel well together. I mean, I have some control over the space, but generally I'm quite lucky the way they work together.
Do you think that the obsessions and this theme helps or hurts the art in general?
Oh, it would definitely help it from an aspect that it is interesting to investigate it. There's interesting parts of research that you can look into and form an opinion, but also just from your enthusiasm and being persuasive, I think it's an interesting way. So yeah, absolutely, it would help it.
How do each of the artists that are involved choose the theme that they want to do for their artwork?
Well, so generally, what we encourage, especially at this stage, since they're seniors, we encourage research. So once we have sort of tagged into the theme of obsession, they started to research certain obsessions, and lots of, so they would bring, parts of research to me that I then would either approve or encourage or sort of point towards a different direction. Lots of media themes that have been researched, also obsessions with themselves, sort of self-portraits, 45 minutes worth of self-portraits. One particular student had obsessions with his hand gestures and the way he deals with that. There was a piece of research done on little children and that they would prefer to become famous, and they would actually prefer that over losing their parents. So there's actually quite a bit of research done on that. And the nails, the particular student is actually a nail technician, and she has recurrent customers coming in every 2 days. So they come to get their nails done every other day.
Wow.
So it's coming more from a research interest.
and they choose things kind of that they've seen in their own life, what's their reaction?
Well, the reaction's generally rather positive, and I don't think that they have consciously actually had time to really think about that aspect of their lives. So introducing these themes, and as a group especially, gives them time to actually let them discuss and involve and research these themes.
Yes, well, actually, reporter Tessa Adams from the Moving Forward team had the chance to speak with students about their artwork for the show. Let's take a look.
One of my classmates based his project on an obsession with like hand movement, just like all these different little gestures and stuff that he does.
I think idiosyncratic behaviors affect everyone's work, even how they think of a certain piece that they want to do or how they lay out a piece.
Idiosyncrasy is a quirk in a person's personality. Like, here's the normal line of what you'd expect, and then there's a little hump.
I was doing a bunch of research on anorexia and obesity and found children would rather have both their parents die, have cancer, or live through a nuclear holocaust. And I thought that was something that needed to be illustrated.
My idiosyncratic behavior inspired the piece because it's obsession with my relationships with people and how they perceive me.
I'm a part-time nail technician, so I do people's fingernails and toenails and stuff for a living. The way that I laid them out is like an idiosyncratic pattern, I guess, because it's all uniforms.
That's something I never really thought of before, little kids having issues with body images, because in my family that was never brought up. It was just, live your life, eat what you want, stay healthy, but just these little kids are taking it to extreme.
He made up his own beats to go with the lights, I guess, that were streaming on the wall. His idiosyncrasy affected his work because he said that since he was younger, he's been beatboxing a lot, and he would always get in trouble by his teachers.
Basically, that it was a good experience and glad to have done it.
Hello, I'm Ellen Cappy, and we just watched a brief story about the artwork students have done for the Idiosyncrasy Exhibit. We've been speaking with Assistant Professor and Curator of the show, Markus Vogl, and as we saw in the story, the students were talking a lot about their own idiosyncratic behaviors. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, what I think which is really interesting is that it makes it cognizant right now. They generally have been doing these kind of behaviors, and they're in their talents, they have been doing this for a while. But putting a show on like this, putting a show on like Idiosyncrasy and with the theme of obsession, I think sort of puts it in the forefront. And so they recognize it more, they pay more attention to it, and I think that's why they have a chance to speak about it right now.
The recognition of the different obsessions, does it come before or after? Is it because they're researching into it, or do they kind of discover it after they've done the art?
I think that right now it's more in the forefront. I think that they have had it all their lives, and I think now they're paying more attention to it. Generally, especially within the design field, they're quite driven individuals that have been elaborating on their work quite a bit. So I think it's natural to them, but right now as they're researching it, I think it becomes more in the forefront.
Is there any particular behavior that you kind of saw during all of this that stuck out?
Well, a lot of this work is done outside of class. When we meet as a group, there's more the issues we have to discuss. So in all honesty, I saw it more with my own behavior because I have to approve all the collateral, and so I'm quite picky in my work. So all the typography, all the layout have to fit. So I've seen it by myself. With the students, since they have done a lot of work outside the class, I haven't really seen it. But they're all hard workers, so I have definitely witnessed that.
Also, some of the work that we saw the students do in the story was, aside from traditional artwork, and there was music and other types of things. Can you tell us a little bit of all those things going on?
Definitely, we encourage the use of new media. Right now, the field of design and new media, as well as me as a new media artist, we encourage the use of this new media because it's becoming pretty prevalent within the industry. So. In this particular class, I truly encourage them to use media they're not necessarily always that particularly comfortable with. So to think a little bit outside of the box. And so they have done that. They have risen to that challenge.
And one of the students also in the story said about how you can learn about an artist by looking at their artwork. What would you add to that?
Well, not only can you learn about an artist by looking at their artwork, there's a lot of personal behaviors within your artwork. And in particular, my students right now discuss a lot of these personal intricacies and idiosyncrasies within their artwork, especially the piece with the mobile, with the little rice corns, and those have interesting aspects to it. Yes, so I think you can very much learn a lot about the artist when you actually look at their artwork.
And we've been talking a lot about the artists and the students involved, but what about somebody who is not involved in art? What would they be able to look at this art and learn about themselves?
Well, I think it's interesting to sort of put this a little bit in the forefront. And what a show like this does is allows the viewer, the spectator, to sort of negotiate that a little bit, think a little bit about that and be like, well, is there certain things that I obsess over? Is there certain things that maybe my kids obsess over? So it gives them a good example, it gives them a good study for that. So that's what as artists we generally try to do. We try to be just catalysts towards a little bit of thought.
And you just mentioned that it gets people to think that, oh, maybe I have something too. Do you think that everybody does?
Well, certainly. I mean, I think generally, especially within our society, we're quite obsessed with our worldview, with our the view, the way we look, the way we appear to others. So I think there is certainly something, conscious or not, that there is certainly something that one can be find.
How can they embrace it after they discover it?
Well, so I'm one of these people who definitely think that you should embrace your obsession, and just being conscious about it and nurturing it can potentially be helpful, leading you a happier life.
Yes, and you want this to move in the future. Where would you like it to go?
Well, generally, for the students at first, it's good for them to see the critical thinking aspect of the artwork. And in the future, if we can put on other shows like this, and our students in general, maybe alumni can put shows on like this, sort of nurture the ideas and critical thinking within our future generation, I think that would be a good thing.
Yes, well, thank you so much for joining us and teaching us all about this. We've been speaking with Markus Vogl about the Idiosyncrasy Exhibit, about how all of us have something that really sticks out to us and the artwork kind of expresses it to us. However, don't go anywhere because we have more for you coming up after the break.